Okay, welcome to episode. Welcome to episode 5 of CX Therapy. I'm out in the woods doing some training, feeling a bit better now. Been at it for a few weeks, so body fuels the mind, demons going, feeling pretty good. This is a good session too. I'm doing some force reps, so just pedalling bloody big gear up a hill. 12 pedal revolutions, just turning over the biggest gear I can. And while I'm doing this, the kids are down there building a berm, so a bit of a family evening out as well. So other than that, I've been doing some endurance rides. You can see from my training plan that there's a lot of green. There's a lot of green in there. Shows I've been good and doing the training. It's all steady stuff, mixed with really high load stuff. So, the idea being there's not much racing going on for a while, and so I work on the extremities of what's important. So, race speed's going to be built from endurance and force. So I train my endurance, I train my force, and then when we get a bit nearer to the races, I can start working on stuff that's a bit more specific. So if I look at Jen's training plan, yeah, even more dedicated than me. She's been monitoring herself well too, with her power and her heart rate, and you can really start to see a bit of a benefit. See yourself getting fitter as the power divided by the heart rate starts to improve, giving you a bit of an indication of your efficiency. So yeah, all good stuff. Hopefully I'll have a bit more endurance, and the extra force is, what I need to get up those steep banks. You go to Belgium and watch the way they're getting up those sand dunes and so on, and the force that's being put out is absolutely incredible. So in our own little way, we can try to build up our own capacity to put out that kind of force. We'll see what happens. Anyway, talking of pros, we've got a real pro in, a real legend, who's agreed to have a chat with us. So one of the best mountain bike riders in the world in his day, with top 10 places in cyclocross World Cups as well. The absolute daddy of the Three Peaks cyclocross race. Here he is, Tim Gould.
I don't know where it needs to be.
Have you not got a copy of my book, or has Harry nicked that?
I have. I could have got that out if I'd have spent a bit more time getting ready.
Did you get out in the snow?
No. There was only there was little. I was at work most of the day Friday, and then there was a bit left when I came home, but I didn't go out in it. There's just well, you can imagine what it's like being a postman with all the shops in Britain closed. You're just spending all the time delivering parcels, and I haven't really got much energy for anything when I get home.
Anyway, right. So, first question. Now, I'm a Muggle born, and not so wasn't brought into cycling by my parents, and so I was lucky enough that your dad got me into cycling, really, or nurtured me on my early rides. So I suppose that was the same for you, was it?
Yeah, pretty much. I think it was probably only just a teenager, or might have even been 12, and we both went down to Matlock Cycling Club one day, and we joined together.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't your dad had always been, I imagined your dad and cycling were kind of like the steady state theory of matter. They'd always been there, but you joined together then.
Well, we did. My dad, he was a racer when he was younger, but as it happens to most people, when you've got children and everything, something has to give, and he'd stop riding for a good while, and then we were getting to the age where we could go out he could take me out on a bike, and the time starts coming back to you, and you have time for one or two hobbies yourself. And I suppose he was taking that opportunity.
Yeah. Well, no, I've been there with my kids, although it was BMX I got them into to begin with. I thought that, that's something I just couldn't do at all. So you're best known as a mountain biker, but presumably it wasn't mountain biking then.
No. When I joined Matlock Cycling Club, about all it did was time trials, and I think it perhaps promoted one road race, but of course I was too young to do the road races, so I started off on the 5 and 10 mile time trials on the A6.
Okay, and then moved into road, and you were presumably road racing well before you were mountain biking as well, were you?
I think I did cross first. A few years after we joined, Rick Clark promoted the first Matlock Cross at Brickyard Farm, so I was kind of aware of that as a sport. And perhaps just for a year or two, I went marking it out or helping out or lighting the fire underneath the tin bath, that sort of thing, for a few years till I did ride it as a schoolboy, so I rode it at 15.
And then when you finally did get into mountain biking, one thing that struck me was, I mean, my kids will be watching Tom Mewson or Matthew van der Poel on telly and going out and pretending to be him and so on, and have these sort of people on pedestals, if you will. But then when you started mountain biking, there wasn't really anyone. You were one of the first mountain bikers. And so I suppose that makes it more exciting, does it, that you were just, trailblazing, so to speak?
Well, in this country, a little bit on the trailblazing side, but with sort of Winning magazine was reporting on mountain biking back then, so we knew it was going on in America, sort of thing. So, and for me, for someone that likes riding off road, in things like the Three Peaks, it was kind of a wish come true that you could perhaps do similar events in the summer as well, and it wouldn't just be a one-off sort of a thing that you waited a year to do the Three Peaks every year.
So, when you first got on a mountain bike, I mean, remember what mountain bikes were like. When you got on a mountain bike, did you think, wow, this is amazing, I could ride up anything with this? Because if you compare what they were like then to how they are now, surely now we're riding what they hoped they would be like back then. Because they weren't exactly fast, were they?
No, I think the thing you first thought about it, I don't think you could really ride up much more than you could on a cross bike, apart from having such lower gears. But it was just how well you could go downhill, what steep things you could go downhill with a mountain bike. That was the the most astonishing thing for me.
So with you, it was going on over in America. So, I mean, obviously I admired you when I was young, but the guy, Tomac was the guy back in the day, wasn't he? That everyone had on posters. And was it, but who's your all-time great mountain biker?
I've not thought about that one.
I thought I prepped you on that.
Oh. No, I was going to say I idolise Bert Broy, the road racer.
Oh, okay. But I've thrown a curveball in my mountain biking.
Yeah. I had posters of him up winning Alpe d'Huez, and just being a mountain climber. I suppose I didn't know enough about mountain bike to really have an idol in it.
But then you were racing with them as well, weren't you? So it wouldn't have really been great for your psychology going into a race if you had posters of them on the wall. But
no,
you must have had a little one of Thomas Frischknecht in your wallet, though, maybe.
Well, Thomas was always he was younger than me, so like going back to the days when we were riding cyclocross, I think he was in Switzerland. He was either in the juniors or the schoolboys. You know, he was quite a bit younger.
Okay, but so okay. So after the curveball on the greatest ever mountain biker, what about the bike? Maybe you've ridden everything from when bikes were really heavy and rubbish through to some fantastic things you were riding from Schwinn towards the end of your career. What's the best bike you've ever had?
Some of the Peugeot ones were exciting. You know, when we got we had a Peugeot mountain bike specially made for us. They were really good. In fact, we felt good on those because they were sort of a state of the art thing.
Yeah, and then you had you had a signature edition as well, didn't you?
Yeah. The signature edition was it was just like a lookalike bike. Really, it's not what a racer would aspire to.
It's not that long ago I saw one of those on the racks outside the university.
Yeah, good. It's a good sighting. I can remember when I used to take my car to be repaired in Chesterfield, and the car mechanic's daughter bought one, and he says, "Oh, that's funny. I repair his car." So she couldn't believe it, sort of thing.
Yeah, she could have got a cheaper one, and you could have just signed it.
Yes, yeah. That's it. It's all about contacts.
Okay, so I'll give you a scenario. If you had an aluminium cyclocross bike with standard clincher tyres on, or high pressure tyres, whatever you want to call them, and rim brakes, and you could choose an upgrade, what would be the one that would give you the biggest performance, do you think? Going from the aluminium frame to a carbon frame, from rim brakes to disc brakes, or swapping the clinchers for tubulars?
Well, it's not a straightforward question, because really, if you wanted to go to rim to disc, you'd need a new frame to achieve that, wouldn't you?
I'll give you an aluminium frame with disc brakes on for free.
Oh, okay.
With disc,
well,
it's not.
I mean,
it's a hypothetical question.
Yeah. Well, both you and I ride an aluminium form carver, don't we? So we're not really thinking that that's a huge disadvantage to a carbon frame. So I think we can rule out going up to carbon.
But you are right, because we went to disc from a carbon Ridley, so it was a frame change that was required.
Yeah. So that'd be like that'd be a backwards step in this scenario. But disc to from cantilever brakes to disc is not probably for anything but the three peaks. You're not going to notice much difference in a racing scenario. Well, not in terms of braking. I think disc brakes will give you more clearance in the mud, and they're perhaps better if you're in this current scenario where there's no bike pits, and you've got to do the whole race on one bike. Disc brakes are definitely better from that. Then in terms of wired on tyres against tubulars, I think if you're serious about racing, you've got to have tubulars. Certainly at the moment. I mean, maybe in a few years' time, when the international standards for tubeless rims and tubeless tyres have been fine-tuned to for example, to stop them burping round corners, then at the moment they can't compete.
Okay. So it's, in short, tubulars then. That's your upgrade.
Tubulars is a real upgrade, yeah.
Uh,
But then again, there's tubulars and there's tubulars. Some of the say if you put tufos on to go around a corners in a national trophy race, then it's not going to happen. They're not supple enough to give you much of an advantage. You've got to go for the artisanal ones.
And take the risk and just realise that in a few years or a couple of years they're going to be fraying and have aneurysms and so on, but they're going to get you around corners to begin with.
Well, I think whatever tubulars you have, I've had some FMBs and they've done 3 seasons, so I've got no complaints about their longevity.
Okay, maybe I'm just not looking after mine. I'm just
No,
I'm cornering harder than you.
Well, there's that, and if you, I think one of the secrets is to bring them in somewhere dry and warm after they've been wet, so they're not sort of wet and rotting in your shed.
Yeah, it's definitely a living room. Tubulars live in the living room, don't they?
Yeah.
So, staying with technology. Okay, so that's the upgrade that you take now. But over all your years of riding, what do you think's the best, the biggest technological advancement in bikes? You think about what you're riding when you first started compared to what you're riding now.
It's probably a choice between like STI levers, the derailleur gear levers in your brake levers, or clipless pedals.
So changing tack completely away from equipment. So I'd come round to your house to meet up to go on rides when I was a bit younger, and if I was lucky, you might invite me in if it was really cold. And I remember in your study, you had a big check up on the wall that you'd won, like one of those big presentation checks, like you've won the lottery. I don't remember how much it was for, but it was because you'd won the Man v Bike v Horse, were the first rider to ever beat the horse.
Yeah.
And I've been out on my bike a bit recently. I'm coming across quite a few horses, and did an interview with Cameron Mason the other day, and I was asking him about the rough and tumble of cyclocross races, and it kind of got me thinking. The rough and tumble of horse racing must be even worse. I mean, I get a bit intimidated by horses on bridleways. So how do you elbow out a horse into a corner in a bike race? It must have been terrifying.
Well, the truth is that I think the cyclists went off first, and then in a mass start event, and then there was a runners after us. 15 minutes later or something like that, and then the horses went off time trial fashion last. So you never actually had to race, head to head with a horse. So that was kind of the first year I rode it. It caused a bit of a random factor, because the horses were given a deduction of time for veterinary stops to check on their well-being. So you had an idea looking at your watch. You thought you're in. I thought I was in with a good chance, and I'd got the horse beat the first time I rode it, but I think it was very close, and in the end, they said the horse had beaten me. But on the other hand, the odds against me winning at that year were really high. So I'm not sure whether William Hill could afford to let me win the race or not. I'm not sure.
All right, so it's a bit disappointing that you weren't racing with horses, but there is a betting
Yeah.
scandal. But you see, I
But
had
then,
there was a photo in an old mountain biking book I'd got, and it had a horse riding through a ford with a mountain biker next to them. And I don't know if this was just a complete lie or whether that chap had been caught by a long way for a long way by the horse. So that made me have images in my mind of you being this kind of Ben-Hur character. So the legend's just destroyed now.
yeah, well, you can imagine there's mountain bikers that would take twice as long as the winner, sort of thing. So it's quite possible that some of the riders did go head to head with the horses. Right. But there were some sections that were for mountain bikers only. I think there was say a section that wouldn't give the height clearance for a horse rider. You know what I mean? They were just low branches or something like that. So they went different routes so that they could get round.
Well, anyway, well done anyway, even if it's not so impressive now.
Well, different. It seemed quite important at the time because, like you say, that check was for £5,000, and at the time that was the biggest ever prize in a cycling event in the UK. So, and it was still the biggest amount for quite a few years after.
What was the most amazing race you ever competed in, or maybe won?
Well, it was exciting the first time we went to America. The previous year there'd been a European World Championships in Switzerland at it was Crans-Montana, I think, and I think either Ned or Tomac won, and I think I was third, but I think I'd had a puncture or something like that, so we knew we were in the ballpark for taking on the Americans. And then the year later, this was before the UCI had given us an official World Championships. We went to first we went to Big Bear Lake, which isn't far from LA, to do the Norba finals, with view to doing the World Championships in Mammoth a week or so later. So we took it quite seriously, and we were there for 2 or 3 weeks acclimatizing. And it was exciting because I did manage to win the Norba finals there in Big Bear. So that was a good day.
Yeah, I mean, going over to America and first time beating them, did they were they all right with that?
Yeah, I think they were kind of excited. We were, so some of the like equipment people were all over us. They wanted to get new equipment on our bikes for the race next week in Mammoth, sort of thing. I think it sort of gave the sport a bit more of an international recognition as well, which they were looking for.
But there were, even though it wasn't sort of fully international then, there were big crowds out there at that time, weren't there? If you look back at you can find videos on YouTube of you winning the uphill world champs and everything, and there's a lot of people out there, aren't there?
Yeah, and then the like that our British champs at Malvern, which I think that was the first like British cycling sanctioned mountain bike now cross country championships, and that you can see there's videos of that, and the sort of at the finish the either side on the barriers it's like six deep either side. It's quite incredible, really.
I really struggled to get out on the bike early on in lockdown, and found it really tough. So I've been training for a few weeks now, so I'm knackered but feeling a lot better. How's it been for you? Have you been able to get out on your bike, and is that helping with all the other negatives of lockdown?
Yeah, I mean that's this sort of the government is encouraging exercise. So in the first serious lockdown, I thought it was amazing when there wasn't any traffic. I was quite enjoying going on some, one or two busier roads that I'd be ordinarily avoiding just due to volume of traffic. So in that respect, it was quite good.
Yeah. But now you're getting closer to Christmas, like you just rushed off your feet as a postman, so it's all gone the other way then.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I think sort of when looking at people's Strava when the first lockdown was, there was, people that were furloughed or whatever. There was all sorts of people going out for miles and miles and miles. They were getting carried away, but I think they burnt themselves out and just gone back to normal now, and they're just the hardcore going out.
But I mean, loads of people have been getting into cycling, and you can't buy a bike anymore, can you? Because they're just all sold out. And it got me thinking that you didn't ride and competitively for there's a long period of time after you retired where you weren't riding, and then you made a big comeback as a V50 rider. So it must have been a really big effort, and then going out, starting training again, and realizing that you were just so unfit compared to where you were initially must have been really tough. And what's your advice for people who are going through, similar thing, decided, I'm gonna get fit. I bought myself a bike. What are it's a big question, but what are the top tips, particularly for people who are maybe wanting to get into cyclocross?
Well, for me, when I started to make a comeback, my initial reason for doing it wasn't because I wanted to race. I just wanted to just more time. My children had grown up, and I'd got more time to myself, and I just wanted to go out and enjoy myself a bit. So. And then I could see I was quite unfit, sort of measuring myself against the people I was going out with. But at that time, I had no ideas of racing really, so it didn't bother me. I was just going out on some of the routes I enjoy, and showing other people that those routes, and we were all enjoying it.
So just focusing on the enjoyment, not the fitness, is the key.
Well, it was then. Because there was no rush. I didn't have any date to get ready for. But then perhaps I was like 45 by when I first started, a bit of a comeback. But then it wasn't till I was 50 did I decide that. I fancied doing a race again.
But you're still doing it. Once you started, it quickly seemed to get serious.
Yes, it did. I mean, initially I just thought I'd come back and do the 3 peaks, but then I bought one new bike to do the 3 peaks, and I've got some old ones in the shed that I'd resurrected. But then when I'd ridden the 3 peaks, I kind of did better than I'd hoped, and I thought, I'll have a go at a national trophy. So I was down at the bike shop ordering a new bike the day after.
Yeah, I think I remember your wife Jill pointing at them when I came round and saying that they were your holiday in Canada.
Oh,
something along those lines.
Oh.
Right, moving now we're into racing. So you've been a world champion at the birth of mountain biking, and had top 10s in a couple of top 10s in world cyclocross champs, I think. You're a qualified cycling coach, so you probably know a little bit about training. But your bike isn't kitted out with data loggers and stuff for you to analyze with software when you get back, like mine is a bit. So it's a bit of an open-ended question, but how do you train on feel, which is not something a lot of people seem to be doing now.
No, it's perhaps it's becoming a lost art, but I mean, I've had heart rate monitors, and I've got one now. But I'm not constantly looking at my heart rate. I think you can judge your heart rate by your the effort you're putting in, your breathing rate. So it's you can make a call on that just from how deep you're breathing.
But I suppose, in terms of, nowadays people say, go out at this power within these bounds, and coaches will keep real tabs on riders, looking at the data when they get back. Is it just knowing what you want out of a ride and being disciplined out there? I'm going to go hard in these places, and I'm not going to go quite so hard this day, rather than just every day you can going out and thrashing yourself.
There's definite elements of that. You've got to sort of, have your ups and downs in your training, in days when you're taking it easy, and days when you're taking it hard, and days when you're doing a mixture of the two. But I think most of the good stuff of training is doing a race, really. Perhaps doing a race, like a preparatory race for a race that you really want to do well in.
We talked about admiring riders earlier, and watching racing on TV and so on, and then inevitably every so often you read in on the internet that rider's been caught doping, and you think, oh. And maybe don't feel quite so inspired on the training ride that day, and so you were a pro through the time of major use of drugs by a lot of people in cycling, and I remember even back then in a local race, I remember a junior rider getting caught for drugs. Nowadays, racing, UK cyclocross, I sort of gain a bit of solace by thinking, look, these are the nicest people in cycling here. There's these guys aren't doping. So, do you feel a bit angry about how, when you were racing, there must have been people who were gaining an unfair advantage over you? And likewise, do you feel better now because to be back amongst friends, so to speak, in the UK? And in the feeling that it's all a bit cleaner?
Well, I think when I first started mountain biking, I don't think there was any doping going on, but when it got to the mid 90s. I think there almost certainly was. Like Chiotti, didn't he? He got his world championship rescinded, and I can remember doing a race at elevation with him in I think it was somewhere like Steamboat or somewhere like that. It was a mountain bike stage race in the USA, and we just couldn't get anywhere near him. So. I think it's fair to say that EPO does work well at elevation, and but at the time we didn't know he was doping. But I think people always suspect different people are doing different things, and sometimes it's true and sometimes it isn't. I think we're being naive if we think there's not any doping anymore. I mean, we've got the Dr. Freeman trial going on at the moment, and that really amounts to state sponsored doping in the UK. it's not just East Germany and Russia. We've got to look at our own house.
On to more pleasant things. So you said your first cyclocross race was at Brickyard Farm in Matlock, I think you said, and I think that was probably mine. And I remember that as being a brilliant course. But I remember a lot of people who probably weren't in a great way after it, complaining that it was dangerous. Now, lots of courses over in Belgium are getting more and more technical now. And, they're kind of like a mountain bike course in the UK, except with more cobbles and more metal barriers. And I was wondering if when you started racing cross abroad, you were going over to Switzerland a bit more, weren't you? And was that the kind of thing you faced there? And do you think we should have more, hardcore technical cyclocross courses here so maybe partly so there'd be more fun and partly so that kids would be a bit better prepared for what they're going to meet when they go and test themselves on the continent?
Well, I think it's. I can't remember a course anywhere else in the world that was quite like Brickyard Farm. So I don't think they were as technical as that in Switzerland from what I remember. But I think it's a question of whether the courses are set up so anybody can ride. Really, it's like a mass participation thing, and then it's whether you want mass participation or you want something for elite riders. Like some of the mountain bike races have got really quite technical with the A and the B lines, and some of the more technical races it puts participants off. They're thinking that they're going to go home with some sort of broken bone. So it doesn't. Technical courses don't attract huge rider numbers. So it's a question of whether you could have a different course for elite riders. You'd have to either have like A and B lines, or just have some bits of a course that was only for the elite race.
So you're a bit knackered at the moment from Christmas coming up and so on. But when will you be training again? And we'll see you in. Let's say we get back to normality when Pfizer have got us all sorted. Are you going to be racing cross next year?
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully cross, and hopefully one or two mountain bike races in the summer. We'll just have to see. I've got atrial fibrillation in the background a bit, so it's kind of limits your racing a little bit. So I've just got to sort of see how I can go, really, and not cause myself any harm.
And presumably you've got a wall chart as well, like I have with the ages of different riders, so you can track what age Nick Craig is and when you'll be 5 years out of sync with him. And
yeah, it's all computerized. I don't have to worry about that. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
It's important to target when your big pushes though are, isn't it? So I'm tracking. I think Rob Jebb maybe goes into a 5-year category above mine, so there's just a little purple patch.
There's a window.
Yeah, and you think but then you find that Nick Craig, I think, has got Eric Decker just coming into his category. So we've all got problems. So
yeah, no, it's never going to be easy.
Anyhow, right. Well, thanks very much for the chat, and should let you get back on with posting stuff.
Thank you, and we'll look forward. Are you coming up for Christmas?
If
you're allowed.